This NASCOURT Settlement Reaction episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog is hooking up new customers. Play just $5 and get $100 in bonus bets when you sign up with their promo code RACESGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome into another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. It's NASCAR After Dark, but more importantly, Cody, we join you after a very lengthy separation. By the way, I don't like not seeing you this many days in a row, so let's never do that again, shall we? But on the heels of a very important, monumental, I guess, happenings in the course of NASCAR, we finally have a shaking hands and a hugging between the teams and the NASCAR brass, and it means that there's a lot of great stuff happening. NASCOURT is officially over, Cody, for now. This episode, anyways. But yeah, happy days, my friend.
It is happy days. First of all, yes, let's not take this long apart again. Rod had some Army duties to attend to, including watching Navy beat Army. So congrats on that to myself, because I mean, you got the cover, fine, whatever. But we all know winning the game is really all that matters. And Navy did it again because they usually beat Army and have the record and we're clearly the better team. All the things I already told you last week. But yeah, anyways, go Army or go Navy. Oh God.
Oh,
go Navy, beat Army. Anyways,
your first instinct was correct.
So you were gone then, and of course, as soon as you leave, NASCAR gets settled. They go in for another day of trial, and it's like, oh, just kidding. We've reached an agreement, a settlement, which was what we thought would happen the entire time, right? We thought it would never get to court. It would be a settlement. They'd have to cave eventually. It got much, much farther than I think either of us thought it was going to. A lot more came out, and it got pretty ugly. But I think the best part about all of it is they did reach a settlement. They reached an agreement. It appears both sides are happy. I mean, 23-11 seems to have won, right, in theory. But the best part is everybody's hugging, everybody's smiling. And really, it's like in an intense game, right? They just raced their hearts out. They played every snap to the final whistle, and then the game's over. And just like Army Navy, right? We become friends again after. I'd send a text first. Then we become friends again after, because it's over and we're all on the same team once again. And it is. They were in the team. We're all team NASCAR and teams or whatever. And so it was good to see that, because there could definitely be animosity there. And there could be, we beat you, they beat us, then they end up not giving them charters, all this stuff. But really, this was the best possible outcome, in my opinion. And it's good to see everybody shake hands, smile, wave, and move on, being on the same team going forward. 61 days till the Daytona 500. So it's right around the corner, and it's good for it to be done, and everybody to be to be resolved, I suppose.
Well, and ultimately, I just feel like this, like you said, it just went farther than anybody had anticipated, both the teams and NASCAR and the fans. And so for this to finish the way it did, I mean, yeah, a lot of dirty laundry got dragged out and a lot of things were brought to light that probably both sides didn't really want to have come out there. But look, like you said, they played every snap. I think that was a great analogy. They literally just went out there. They ran the race as clean as they could, right? Yeah, there's a little bumping and banging. Yeah, there's a little bit of paint trading, but that's racing. Rubbing is racing, and that's what they did in the courtroom. Ultimately, the checkered flag got taken, like you said, probably by 23-11 in front row by a smidge, but
Edged them out at the line.
Just it was the closest finish in NASCAR history, but we'll talk more about that in a second. I want to tell you right now, though, to get all of our free picks and podcasts, to get access to all that in one convenient place, all you got to do is download the SGPN app. Go find it in your app store. Just type in SGPN. TK checking in, saying, funny how they managed to bother RCR both personally and professionally with this trial and the leaks/trial tactics. But that's court, man. Nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, that might lead to another lawsuit, because they signed NDAs and then it comes up in court was kind of an interesting thing, right? With RCR, with Richard potentially looking to sell the team, and then maybe the people who were buying didn't actually have the money they said they did. Whatever the case was, that was interesting. That definitely pissed off Richard, because he's like, how do you know about any of this when there was NDAs signed? So that's another saga, another chapter to this that we might continue to see down the road. But yeah, he did really kind of get drug through everything with the take him out back and flog him texts, and or calling him a redneck, and then yeah, he made his court appearance. Oddly enough, the court ended before Roger Penske or Rick Hendrick ended up in court. Interesting timing there. Maybe not as interesting as of course you would expect, but yeah, RC got his time in, I guess.
I'll bet the phones were ringing, like just off. Rick Hendrick was probably on the phone, like, listen, you put me on the stand, it ain't gonna be pretty.
He 1,000%. Rick and Roger don't want to testify, right? There was already things coming out, and then especially after seeing what came out with Richard in court, there's a lot of things Roger especially. I mean, Roger has so many holdings, interests. He owns another series that he races cars in. He owns Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I mean, so many layers to his things. And Rick, of course, he's got all kinds of layers with his stuff as well. Those guys don't want to take the time to be in court. They don't want to go through that bullshit. They don't want to be put on the microscope. They don't want things popping up out of closets that are supposed to be stuck in the closet, right? So yeah, I would guarantee that they were especially, I mean, everybody could see, and it's, I guess, interesting because 2311 was presenting their case first, right? They were the plaintiff, and so they have to present their case. But once they were done presenting their case, everybody was clearly on the side of, well, 2311 and front row have presented a very good case, and they're going to win this. They're in NASCAR just seemed to be striking out with all of their rebuttals, all of their cross-examinations. There was almost no NASCAR wins coming out from everything we heard. And I think NASCAR saw that, and I'm sure Rick and Roger were paying close attention, and were like, listen, this doesn't need to go any farther. Settle, let's redo this. And I'm, you'd like to say that was a major influence, but they tried to get Jim to make changes beforehand, and he wouldn't. So who knows? But I'm sure that maybe helped push it over the finish line.
Well, and see, that's the other part about it too, right? Because it's not as if they were saying, well, we want to keep it the way it is. You're right. They've been trying to make changes subtly and over the course of the last several years. I mean, it's not as if they're just all of a sudden waking up one morning like, you know what, the sport needs to change. With the Gen 7 car, with the playout, like everything that they've done since the good old days of driving around for 36 races and crowning a champion at the end of it, right? They've been trying to make those changes. And I wonder, part of me wonders if they weren't just sitting back and going, you know what, good for you, Michael. You're saying the quiet part out loud, because we have been trying to do this and it hasn't been happening. It's been falling on deaf ears. And so for you and Danny to come out and actually do this, like, they were probably maybe even secretly backing. Maybe those are the skeletons they didn't want to come out, right? They're pumping money into that.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. Like when the new guy comes in and he's suddenly raising all these problems at work that you've known are problems for a while, and nobody's ever listened to you about it. And the new guy's like, "What about this?" And you're just over there like, "Yeah, new guy, tell him, get it, yes, oh yes." Like, I don't have to be the guy bringing all this shit up anymore.
Yes, yeah, out front to the boss, you're like, no,
yeah,
you're
like, oh, that guy, boy, that's crazy. He just thinks we're gonna change all this. Was walking here and change it, and then you're like patting him on the back. You're like, yeah, you just keep it up, buddy. You keep bringing up all these issues, because, but interesting too, the whole Jim France thing. So I didn't know much about Jim France before all of this, right? I didn't even realize that he was Bill France Sr.'s son. I thought he was farther down, like another generation, but he was the son, or is the son, of the original founder, Bill France Sr., right? And he was known for running NASCAR from the beginning, and then Bill Jr. took over, which is Jim's brother, and was the guy running things for a long time, and they both ruled with an iron fist, and they'd be rolling over in their graves if they saw NASCAR today, all the old school cliches, right? But so then Brian takes over, Brian France, which was Bill Jr.'s son, and he's running things. Well, he had a drinking problem and maybe some other issues, and took NASCAR in some interesting turns and directions, right? And then all the drinking stuff comes out, he gets arrested, and it's like, hey, Jim, we know you're a little bit older, but we kind of need you to take over, right? Your father started this, your brother ran it for a long time, your nephew didn't do such a good job. So they put him in charge, but very behind the scenes, right? We never saw him. And Gluck and Bianchi were talking about that. Jeff said he'd never talked to him before. And Jordan said he talked to him maybe once for an interview and occasionally here and there, but really stayed behind the scenes. You never saw him in press conferences or anything. And then all this comes out that he's just ruling with an iron, or trying to rule with an iron fist like his brother and father once did behind the scenes. But I don't know. And it just, like, there was no give ever, and just painted him in such a negative light that it's like, that's all we're going to remember Jim, because he'll probably just fade back into the abyss now, right? And there's a lot of calls for people, wanting people like him replaced. And you look at a guy like Ben Kennedy, who's in the family lineage and looks to be the future potentially down the road. Maybe getting a guy like him into that position sooner rather than later is the answer. But yeah, definitely kind of a weird Jim France going from almost unknown to just massive NASCAR villain suddenly. Pretty crazy, like, couple of weeks where it was just like, and really over the trial was ended up 8 days. I think the 8th day was when they settled. And on the 8th day they settled. But just like the villain arc there, what a story, Rob.
Hey, you could not write that any better in Hollywood for sure. And I tell you what, he's probably going to end up being like the Homer Simpson gif, where he's just going to go right back into the bushes.
Oh, yeah, just fades back into the bushes.
Slide back out of the picture, be like, you know what? We're good. We've worked this all out. I'm just going to go back to being the man behind the scenes. And, sometimes that's the way you want to be. Sometimes, Cody, the best place to be is unheard of, because that means you're doing something either incredibly wrong that no one wants to talk about you, or right, and no one wants to talk about you because you're boring. So, yeah, I mean, he's probably going to go back to doing that. But can you?
I think he probably can, now that this is all settled and done behind us. But anything that comes up in the future, we're going to be wondering, like, oh, is Jim France just being stubborn about this? Is this why they've gone back to the 36 race championship? As Jim France said, no, this is the sticking point. We're doing it how Dad did it. Who knows, right? But we'll see.
We will definitely see. We'll talk more about the ramifications in a second. Want to say real quick evening to JDK. A little late. Yeah, NASCAR After Dark today, which is fine, right? That's the way we want it to be. Little beer drinking, little NASCAR talking, little having some fun with you guys on this evening edition. So, all right, we'll do everything that we talked about. But first, I would like to tell you about our friends over at Kalshi. We've partnered up with Kalshi, a real money prediction market, legal in all 50 states. Yes, even yours. In all 50 states, you can trade tons of markets, including NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, and more. Plus, you can even trade props like first TDs. And besides sports, they've got a ton of other markets, including politics, entertainment, hell, You can even bet on the weather. Proof, you can bet on the high for Los Angeles today or whatever city that you want to out there as well. But not only that, there is a market that I am particularly interested in right now trading on. Who will win Survivor Season 49? I am a gigantic Survivor fan. I've watched all 49 seasons so far and excited for 50 coming up. I even listened to the On Fire podcast with Jeff Probst. They've got Savannah and Rizzo, the Riz God himself. Savannah's 91% on the yes. That's so crazy that everybody thinks Savannah's going to win. That TV broadcaster that's so sneaky over Riz God, the millennial with a absolute power hold on this game so far. So go over there and trade on that right now. Kalshi, you can trade anything. New Kalshi customers get $20 when they use promo code SGPN. That's Kalshi, Kalshi, promo code SGPN. How about Underdog? It's your home for pick'em entries where you can win up to 5,000 times your entry. Love the PWHL, the Pro Women's Hockey League. How about Brianne Jenner of the Ottawa Charge? Her goal total, or her goal projection, is set at a half of a goal. Give me the higher then. She's already got 2 goals so far this season. Of course, both of them came in one game against Vancouver, but who cares? I think she's going to get there. She's had a long drought. Give her another goal for the night. Underdog's got a brand new offer for customers. Play just $5, get $100 in bonus funds when you sign up with our promo code RACE, SGPN. Season finale is Survivor tomorrow night, my friend. That is going to be an exciting couple of hours for the last. I'll tell you, man, that this season is weird because normally there's somebody that I cannot stand, or at least a couple of people that I cannot stand in that final 5, and I can't wait for them to go home. This season, I love all 5 of them, and I think all 5 of them would be great winners, and it's going to be a battle royale to the end. I love Survivor. Love it. It's almost like the trial. It's the survivor. Yeah. Who survives? Who survives?
2311 front row appear to be the survivors, Rob.
They do. But we all win in the process because we get, Cody, this is what we get here out of everything that we get. We get Evergreen charters, we get more expanded revenue sharing for the teams, and you get the reinstatement of the strike rule, which means that teams can object to certain rule changes. How much weight that carries, we'll never know. But the more important thing, Cody, is that there are concessions, and one of them is what we talked about before, the Evergreen charters. I feel like that is a great place to start because that means this is almost like a sports franchise that now is a part of the NFL for the long haul. You don't have to renew it. Yeah. You don't have to continue, justify your existence. You got a team. It stays there as long as you could possibly keep it there financially.
Yeah, I think, good things and bad things, of course, about any side of any deal, but the Evergreen charters, I think, are great. And again, Jim France pulling the puppet strings behind the deal here. We're not going to call them permanent charters. We're not going to call them Evergreen, right? Franchises. That's what we'll call it. Yeah, we're not going to call them franchises. We'll call it Evergreen, right? So, AKA they're permanent charters, and they essentially work like an NFL franchise or like a fast food franchise, or and that's what the teams wanted, and they obviously got that in the NASCAR concessions here. So, it's great for the teams because it does give them something of value, right? And we've seen these charters being sold, and 2311 and front row really put themselves out there because they invested in charters that didn't have an agreement signed. They didn't even know that they were going to be able to keep the charters when they purchased the charters. They really didn't even technically take over the charters. Again, weird legal stuff or whatever, but not knowing the future, went out on the limb and got these charters. But now that they've got them, it obviously helps secure their future, right? Because it is an asset, and it's not without oversight. And that was kind of NASCAR's rebuttal. And it's like, well, you can always, any type of franchise, if, a team is not being run appropriately, they're going to go in and take the ownership out. And we've seen many examples of that, even, just from owners having issues where, you're forced to sell the Clippers or the Panthers or whatever the case may be. It's not like NASCAR just loses all control and the teams can go do whatever they want, right? It's still, but it gives them that secure asset. And part of the whole lawsuit thing was all the teams that have come and gone throughout the time. And NASCAR's always stayed, right? Because NASCAR's making the money, whatever the deal is. But this gives those teams that permanent asset that they can that holds value and that they can trade and use and whatever. So I think overall it's a good thing. Some of the rebuttal, the argument is, oh, well, now it's harder for teams to come in and we're not going to get newer teams. And okay, sort of, yes, you could still run as an open car. You can't put a football team into the NFL as an open team. So you do still have that option, right? And we've already got Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s entering a team. And these people are going to be in the Daytona 500 and we'll see open entries, right? Yes, it's harder. There's other things that go along with it. But it just being able to secure the teams and help the teams stabilize and be able to grow. If other people want to come in or investors or whatever, they'll be able to use those existing teams to do so. And we already saw it with Rick Ware, right? They've sold off their 2 charters, one to Legacy and they've sold the other one as well. And it's going to allow them to be able to keep kind of the same base and build on what's already there. And I think that's really a good thing. I think overall, the Evergreen thing is going to be good. They're still going to have to renegotiate deals, right? As the media rights deals come up. Okay, what parts and pieces go with this, but they keep the charters. NASCAR can't just pull them away. And I think I think it's a win for both sides. Even though NASCAR was against it or Jim France was against it, I think it is a good thing for both sides. Helps the stability of the sport, which is good for NASCAR. Helps the stability of the teams, which is good for NASCAR as well.
And this is a really unique situation in that, yes, as you can sell any of the Clippers or whatever, or any football team that's out there. This is different in that the NASCAR charters are almost like selling off the offense or the defense or the specialty. It's not you're selling off the entire team. You're selling off one of the cars, one of the rights to open that car. So it's not as if let's say Hendrick was like, okay, I'm tired of having 4 charters. It's not as if they have to sell there. They can just sell charter to the 48, right? And they can just say, okay, I don't want to have 4 cars anymore. And the team doesn't disappear. Just one of the cars in that team goes to somebody else. So it's not as if a new team can't completely come out there. They just have to do some negotiations and say, hey, look, RFK, the 6 and the 17 are where you should be putting your what you call it. So, come here and give me the 60, right? And the charter to the 60. So I can start my new team.
That charter's being leased. So RFK's not going to have that charter. So they're going to have to figure out something if they want to keep that third team going, which is a whole nother conversation for down the road. But yeah, it is. And that's what's great, right? And they're capping it at 3. So Hendrick Gibbs are grandfathered in with the 4. Nobody else is going to be able to expand to the 4, which I think is fine. And then, Bob Pockers tweeted out like framework of the Evergreen charters. So they'll still have their renewal periods where they're going to have to update the agreement or whatever. 2/3 of the teams have to agree in order to renew it. And then if you don't sign the renewal, so if 2311 says, hey, we don't agree to this, like happened this time, they'll be able to, race under that agreement for a year while they're given time to sell the charter. And then there's also still the clause in there for NASCAR that if you don't meet performance standards, you must sell. But they get time to sell, of course, and then NASCAR. So that was part that NASCAR wanted, right? They've always had that rule in there, and it changed kind of over the years, but basically it was something in the ballpark of if you're bottom X number of spots in the standings for multiple years, we have the right to take away your charter, right? And it didn't mean you were going to lose it, but it meant that they could look at you and say, okay, Rick Ware, you're just starting and parking every week. You don't get to keep your charter, right? But Rick Ware was one of the teams that was up for that possibility a couple of years ago. And they looked at him and said, look, you appear to be doing things right. You've signed Justin Haley to this big deal. That worked out really well, right? But they were at least trying. So NASCAR was like, you get to keep it because you are trying and you're meeting our expectations for trying. And then part of that also was before NASCAR would get 2% of the sale of a charter. Now NASCAR is going to get 10%. So another, olive branch in NASCAR's way, right? Okay, we'll up your percentage on these charters, which are now going to be worth more because they're evergreen, right? So again, you give and you take, and everybody wins in this situation.
Well, and they say that the outcome of a good negotiation is when both sides leave slightly unhappy because they didn't get everything they wanted. And honestly, I feel like that's exactly what happened here. Both sides left happy enough but neither one of them got everything they asked for, which is, just like I said, a sign of a good negotiation. And the money that you talked about is also coming from the international, which now will be part of that expanded revenue where you get a little more money from the international part of all of this. And so the teams now get a little bigger cut of that purse, which is important. I mean, look, and I know somebody had made a comment on one of our YouTube videos about the bosses and what it takes for them to do everything that they need to do for the employees to be employed. And I think you made a great point in your response. It's like, yeah, that's true. We get that. But if you're not being paid fairly, right? I mean, it's why NFL players negotiate the way they do, because they understand that, listen, the bosses are up there flying in luxury jets. They're sitting in luxury boxes. They're drinking $10,000 bottles of champagne or leaving them there and not drinking them all, right? Whatever the case may be. And here I am, okay, I may be making $45 million, but I could be making $55 million because you can spare a little more, and I'm out there risking my hump to try to make you this money. So again, I understand everybody's point of it, but like you said, fair and equal payment is really what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that goes in any, right. It's hard. Again, this was, billionaires arguing with billionaires about money. And it's like, but at the same time, you have to scale everything out, right? So to an NFL player, yes, $45 million is great, but $55 million when I'm going out and risking injury and putting my body on the line and putting all this work in and doing all of this promotion for your league and your team, right? It sounds like a better deal. And you scale that down to what you do for your job and so on and so forth. But yeah, so again, you win, you lose, you everybody gets a little bit. One of the part of that, as you mentioned, was the strike rule. Previously, it was a 3-strike rule. Now it's a 5-strike rule. You made a comment of, will we know what it is or how it's used or when it's used? Probably not, because this was previously in there and it was in there for years, and the teams only gave NASCAR 1 strike. And funny enough, it was going to the Roval. They didn't want to do it. Originally, I think it was 2018 when they went there. That was the strike they used. It was the only strike they ever used, and it just didn't go anywhere. But Kelly Crandall had a good breakdown of kind of what the strike rule is or involves. And so here's her breakdown. It was the teams having a say in the sport's governance. The teams could give NASCAR a strike, basically a veto is how she puts it, right, on something they didn't want changed or implemented. If it reached more than 3 strikes, the exclusivity clauses were voided. So NASCAR argued in court that teams were using it to stop going to new tracks, or that they never got 3 strikes because there was always a fight back and forth on what or wasn't a strike and had the final say. So I guess they've cleaned that language up and advanced it to 5 strikes instead of 3 strikes. I'm going to guess it's probably not something that we'll really ever hear about or will ever come up, but it's something that's there for the teams of, hey, if you don't like consistently the directions we're going, you can use these strikes. And then if we get to that 5th strike, right, then it becomes a conversation of, okay, now what happens or whatever they need to figure out from that point.
Yeah, and again, like I said earlier, I don't think we're ever going to hear about this. I don't think this is going to be any major thing unless there's some gigantic change that they're trying to make it within the next few years that really doesn't go over well. And you know what the thing is, Cody, they make these incremental changes to where it's almost like they're turning the heat up very slowly so you don't know you're boiling. And to the point until you're already being already ready to eat. So I feel like that's what they do. And that's why you can't really use the strike, because there's not a huge change.
I mean, they need to make changes, right? They've got to do things different. They've got to make adjustments. And I don't know about the Roval. Maybe we didn't need to do that, but it's worked out okay. With the old car, especially, it was something kind of needed. It gave us some good races. With the new car, we should be racing Charlotte Oval twice. Everybody agrees on that except for SMI and Marcus Smith, but whatever. But yeah, like going to LA was a needed move, right? The teams probably didn't love it, but something they needed to do. Going to San Diego, I think, is that. The Chicago street course is that. So they've got to continue to make changes and do things. It shouldn't be, they can't make any changes at all, but it does give the teams at least a voice. And again, if it continues, I would imagine if we get to 3 or 4 strikes, they're going to sit down and look at this deal, or what what can we do to get some of those strikes back or start the count over, whatever the deal might be. So TK says the teams may try to use it to avoid international racing, like how Mexico was poorly organized with travel time between races. Certainly could be a deal. Again, if you've got 5 strikes, if you got 5 fouls, sometimes you want to use a foul or 2. Anyways, get on the stat sheet. So who knows, I guess.
And I think it's funny though that was the compromise. All right, listen, we'll flesh this out to 5 strikes. Give us 5 chances for you to say no before it.
We'll reinstate the rule, but instead of 3 strikes now, it's going to be 5.
Yeah, we're gonna make it a little harder for you to try to object to what we do, which is fine, I guess, right? You don't want everybody to just scream and holler at the top of their lungs at everything. TK also hearkening back to our Survivor Talk guest, Cory Heim is on Exile Island, hoping for an update. He's waiting for that chance to get back in the game, is what he's doing. That Exile Island is exactly that in Survivor.
It's one of the weirder things. It's just so strange to me. It's so strange that somebody, a team, a sponsor, a manufacturer, anybody hasn't stepped up and said, this guy deserves a ride, Rod. Any ride. Whatever. Does a ride somewhere. He's not getting anything. Insane. I mean, he's got this deal with 2311. Riley Herbst and the monster money seems to be holding that up. Right. Eventually, maybe he gets there. There is the 3rd legacy car coming. So maybe Toyota's got a big grand plan. Xfinity Joe Gibbs ride makes the most sense. And apparently Ty Gibbs is the one coming in the way of that. And that's really unfortunate to hear. It's really unfortunate that it's even happening. But why not another season in a Tricon truck? I mean, fine, you've already signed Caden Honeycutt to the 11. Shift him over to another Tricon truck. They have plenty of them. Somebody's got to be able to throw money at this guy for as dominant, as good as he is. How does he just not have a full-time ride going into the season in any of the 3 Premier Series? Just blows my mind.
Yeah, and honestly, he's gonna find. I think he's gonna find one at some point. Somebody's gonna snatch him up, and maybe they're just making us wait. Maybe they're making the bookmakers wait, and yeah, who knows? Who knows what the thought process is there for Cory Heim? And like I said, I don't think we're gonna see him down for very long. So, all right, we're gonna talk some more about this and everything else under the sun. But let me tell you about our friends over at Novig. We're brought to you by Novig. Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market. Novig, you're getting the best prices. Don't believe me? There's no love for the American Conference champion, Tulane, the Green Wave. They're going up against Ole Miss on Saturday. And right now, you can get Tulane as part of this Novig at plus 17.5, minus 115, taking on number 6, Ole Miss. I know Ole Miss is Ole Miss. I get it. But Tulane playing some great football right now. They're 11-2 at the end of the season after winning the conference championship. Ole Miss is 11-1. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to be that much of a blowout. So give me Tulane plus 17.5, minus 115 over on Novig. Go download the Novig app. Get $50 when you spend $5 if you use a promo code SGPN. Get in on the action with Novig, promo code SGPN. How about Rhythm? Rhythm has crushed it, the NFL this season, especially on player props. They've been really good at identifying when to fade the players and take those unders. College basketball is up and running with 300-plus schools. Rhythm has predictions for every game, every night, and it pairs nicely with the daily TCE shows with Matt, Colby, and Noah. Every game, you are prepared. Super easy to sign up, run predictions off the house model, or make your own and play with those sliders. With so many sports and the holidays, makes it easy to get an elite prediction on a game so I can focus on other sports. How about the big showdown between the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks? You want to talk about some unders? How about Matthew Stafford's passing attempts? I know he's an MVP, but they're giving Matthew Stafford under 33.5 passing attempts at plus 106. Matthew Stafford has been under this in 3 of his last 5 games. He was actually under this as well in his last matchup against Seattle, where he threw 28 passes overall on the game. His projection there was 36.5. So he hit the under, way under against Seattle. You know, their defense is tough, Matthew Stafford is going to have his hands full. Use promo code SGPN25 when you download the Rhythm app for 25% off of your first month. Download Rhythm. Use promo code SGPN25. I will be watching that matchup with vested interest as my 49ers season hangs in the balance between those two guys, because that's a huge game.
That's a massive game. That's pretty great for it to be primetime Thursday night football for everybody to see. Two really good teams. Obviously, in the NFC West, they're with your 49ers, and that game's got a lot of implications towards the playoffs and towards that division. So pretty excited for that, Rod. Couple of more things.
I want to say that the Arizona Cardinals probably feel like that fourth team in a 4-car. They're like, why are the other 3 cars doing so good and we're just dragging ass right now? I got to think that the Arizona Cardinals, the 4th charter.
Yeah, that is 3 elite teams. I mean, top of the NFL teams, and then the Cardinals. It's like that, that graphic that goes around with the dragons or whatever, and they look mean and fierce, and then there's the goofy looking one, and that's the Arizona Cardinals of the NFC West.
It is. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Couple other things that came out of this: international rights on this agreement. On the initial agreement, now the teams got no money from the international broadcast, right? JDK in the chat here, international listener. TK here, international listener. They weren't getting any of you guys' money, and now they are. So that's good for them. Obviously, they settled things as far as NASCAR is going to pay an undisclosed amount, and we'll never probably know that number unless somebody breaks their NDA like they did on the Richard Childress thing. But and then the one other thing is teams will be paid 1/3 of any new NASCAR deals that involve the team's intellectual property usage, which is good again for the teams and a positive for them. Granite Pro checking in. Gatorbait, consistent NASCAR fantasy ass whooper. He beats everybody every year. Don't usually have a chance to listen live. Glad to see you. Appreciate all y'all do. Any more details on the changes in revenue sharing? Well, yeah, there you go. They get the international part of things. They'll get 1/3 of any intellectual stuff coming up. As far as TV deal or any of that stuff, we didn't really get any of those details. I would imagine there was.
They said that it's not. They're not going to put it out. They said all of the financial stuff is going to be confidential.
So I'm sure that there was. I'm sure NASCAR budged on some stuff, but I doubt we'll find that information out. Unfortunately,
I'm telling you right now, that's probably one of the things where they're like, we had enough of the financial stuff get leaked and gets put out over the course of this.
Here's the list of things we can tell that we're in this agreement. Here's the list of things you don't fucking talk about. And that's on the list of things you don't fucking talk about.
First rule of financial is you don't talk about financial. That's all there is to this. And look, for good purpose though, because this is, again, there's things you don't talk about in life, and you don't walk around talking about your money. And that's really what NASCAR, I feel like, has been about their entire existence. I mean, look, bootleggers, man. These guys were talking about whiskey and moonshine and running all this stuff, and nobody really talked about all of that. And so that's the roots of it. We don't talk about this. We don't talk about our money. We don't talk about what we're doing. The fact that all of this stuff already came out, that front rows broke, that Denny makes so much money, that's more than we wanted to come out in the first place, and we don't want that anymore. So, I feel like that was why the stipulation was put there.
Yeah, absolutely. So my buddy Dan from the Front Stretch local racing podcast here, he was interested, Rod, if we would set some odds on some of the NASCAR leadership and what their odds might be on getting fired. So I thought it would be fun real quick to kind of go over it and see. So Steve Phelps, the commissioner of NASCAR, of course, he sent the text messages about Richard Childress. And there's quite a few other things that kind of came up throughout this. He was the one who wanted to kill off SRX. He was, I was trying to just browse through some of the notes here quick, but obviously the stupid redneck thing, the should be taken out and flogged, and the whole SRX deal. And just, he's one of the guys that, again, was painted in not a good light in this. So Steve Phelps, the commissioner of the sport, the first ever commissioner of NASCAR, Rod, what are the odds he retains his job, and should he retain his job?
Well, no. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you minus 250 that he will get fired, and we'll give you 5-1 that he doesn't. So plus 500 that he doesn't get fired, minus 250 that he does.
I might need to read into the sportsbook rules here. Does him resigning count as him getting fired?
Okay. So here we go. Okay, minus 250 that he does not start the 2026 season as the commissioner.
As the Daytona 500, he's not. I mean, definitely, this whole thing is interesting. Obviously, a lot of stuff came out in this. And, somebody like Richard Childress, not going to go away quietly, right? Obviously, he's very upset about this NDA thing. He's upset about the text messages and all of that. He went to his very good friend, Johnny Morris. Johnny Morris's letter comes out, and then the next day we settle again. Could that have been part of the thing? Because Johnny Morris spends more money in the sport than possibly anybody but John Menard, maybe. And so, yeah, it's interesting because this guy is, this is Roger Goodell sending nasty, dirty emails about Robert Kraft, or I don't know if I want to compare Childress to Kraft. Well, they both have about the same amount of championships. 6
I was
championships.
to say that, and they both have the same amount of stature in the sport, right?
Okay, yeah, so yeah, so where does that lead, right? Does Goodell keep his job if he calls Robert Kraft a redneck that needs to get taken out and flogged? And
I'll tell you this, commissioners get power from the team owners, right? And that is where it's not the sanctioning body, it's the owners that really give the commissioner power.
But that's where NASCAR is different, because NASCAR's not run by the teams, right? In the NFL, the teams run the league, which is different. And in most sports, the teams run the league. And this is where it's different, and that's all part of this, right? Is the franchises retain the sport and running it and overseeing everything. Can we get odds on them somehow getting a promotion and a raise? TK
150-1.
It's a possibility, right?
The same odds as some of the championship odds out there for some of these lower drivers.
Yeah, I would say, though, honestly, I don't think that he'll be gone. I think that the fact that this was a settlement was agreed upon, everything's cooled off, it's calm. I mean, we're just now giving our reactions because it's been busy, right? You were gone and everything, but it's really blown over and calmed down. There's no more daily episodes of the teardown going over this stuff. Shortly here, everybody's going to have their focus completely on the 26th season, and it's all going to blow over and go away. So I think we're maybe past that point. I think had this drug out farther into court, had it come down to there being rulings issued and the jury coming out on things, maybe that would have changed things. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
You call me a redneck, I'm gonna remember that for a while. And there is a strong distance between me like forgiving you and me forgetting, right? I mean, not me personally, because me, I tend to forgive and forget really quickly. But there are people out there that will remember exactly what you said and exactly how you brought it up. And do you want, I guess, in terms of military leadership, right? Because now Army, Navy, we just had that whole thing. I'm still in, and I don't necessarily want leaders that will talk about me in that kind of a way to my superiors or to anybody else, right? I don't trust you after that. And it doesn't really make for I hate using the word toxic work environment because it's so thrown around, but it kind of makes for a toxic work environment, right? If your boss, if the person that you answer to steady calls you names to everybody else around you, where's the respect? And that was just one text thread that came out. What if there was more talking about some of these other owners or other people that are in the organization, right? This could be the tip of the iceberg as far as kind of text messages he likes to send out to his friends and to the folks that listen to him. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I would not, if I were a governing body, I don't know if apologies would be enough in this instance, because it's like, dude, don't put yourself in this position, right? Don't compromise yourself like this, because I get it. I get it, right? Yeah, okay. He's a redneck. Cool, whatever. We all get this. But like, you're the commissioner. You're held to a higher standard when it comes to conduct, right? You say it, you say it. You don't text it. You don't put it down on paper. You talk on the phone, right? Unless they pull your call records and then you're screwed. But yeah, you know what I'm saying?
So, Mr. Childress, what if Jim France decided to step down instead? Ben Kennedy steps up into the role of NASCAR CEO. Would that make you feel okay? It'll be a change of leadership at the top. Yes, Mr. Phelps over here did some things wrong, but we're going to make a replacement where a replacement really is needed, right at the top. Jim never really wanted this role. He was just kind of thrown into it. And Ben Kennedy over here, he's a young guy. He's up and coming. He's been the driving force of the sport here lately. He's going to come in. He's going to oversee Steve O'Donnell. He's going to oversee Steve Phelps. You know, Phelps has obviously made a big mistake here, but Ben is going to be in charge of things. So would you accept Jim France stepping down as CEO instead of the commissioner?
You keep Phelps on a short leash. The first time he messes up, he's out.
Okay, deal. I like it. I think that Jim is the most likely one that's gone after all of this. I think he's 80 some years old. I mean, he's already, like, obviously he's loaded when it comes to that. He doesn't like the spotlight anyways. He doesn't, maybe he remains on the board. But Ben Kennedy has been very front facing, right? He drove in the Truck Series, did some stuff like that. He's been on the Dale Jr. download. He's not afraid to come out in the media. He's the one behind LA, Chicago, San Diego. He's the one behind making all these changes and being part of the Roval deal and being part of Bristol Dirt and being part of Bowman Gray and being part of North Wilkesboro. He's the one making the changes in Mexico and Canada and these things. So, and I think that Jim France did quickly become the villain. I think that the NASCAR fans and the general perception of him is not good. I don't think that anybody really has a good perception of him. And I think it's the opposite for Ben. I think that Ben Kennedy is a guy that people want to lead the sport and feel like would do a good job. He's still part of the line there, right? He is Lisa France Kennedy's daughter, which would be the grandson of Bill Sr. Or no, she's Bill Jr.'s daughter, right?
I'm not ancestry.com. I don't.
I don't have the family tree in front of me. I think she's, either way, he's right there in the line, right? Lisa France Kennedy's daughter. So he's part of the France family, different last name, obviously, through marriage, but he is part of the bloodline, part of all that. And he's already got all these leadership roles. He's already coming up in everything. Jim's old. This has been a lot on him. He could retire, hand the baton over to Ben. Ben's going to have a more front-facing role as CEO anyways, more similar to like a Brian France back in the day. Obviously, you hope things go a little differently than the Brian France era. But I think that would be the change that NASCAR fans would be very happy with. I think the teams would probably like it as well. Yes, obviously, Jim has had, I would say, a good relationship with Roger and Rick and Jack, the old owners and maybe Richard, obviously, at some point. But seemingly that relationship's not been great over the last couple of years through this. Wouldn't listen to those guys. And maybe it is time to get the old blood out of there and bring the new blood in and continue to look forward towards the future of the sport.
Let me ask you, you're 80. What
I feel like it some days, Rod.
Well, I mean, I feel like it every day, but that's like if I had the opportunity to sit on a rocking chair all day long and scream at the clouds, why would you want to put yourself at 80
I've
in
thought
a situation like that?
I've thought of this because if I had the chance to retire today, I probably would take it. But
no doubt, I would take it and run.
But at the same time, I can't think of just sitting around doing nothing either. So even if I were to retire, I'd need to retain something, right? Whether it's the show, writing, whatever, like there'd have to be something there. And so I get that, right? And you want to stay active. And he's been around it for NASCAR's 77 years old. He's been around it since he was 3, right? His father started it when he was 3. And he saw his father started from moonshiners in the backwoods to becoming, I mean, look at the 90s, right? And what the sport became in the 90s. And Jeff Gordon and national everything. And yes, it's fallen off of that it once was, but all the things that it's gone through, and his dad built that. It's his father's company. I mean, so I get wanting to be a part of that. And obviously when he took over in the role he's in, it was because of the Brian France deal, and that wasn't going well. And he was the guy that was, in the right spot, I guess, in the right mind frame and all that to take it over and run it. And he's been able to do so very much behind closed doors, out of the public eye. So, how much is he in the office working 80 hours a week? Probably not, right? He's cashing a nice paycheck. He's running the company his dad started. I get it. But at the same time, this is a great time to walk into Mr. France's office and say, Mr. France, it's time for you to go fish or do something different.
I respect my elders. I really do. 100%. I grew up respecting my elders, but we have too many 80-year-olds leading.
Well,
things around.
That's a whole other conversation. But yes, too many old people running everything, right? And that's where new blood can be, younger people can be a very good thing, and different ideas. And obviously, Ben's already had a major influence over a lot of things in the direction of NASCAR here recently. And Jim could still stay on the board, right? That's the unique thing about NASCAR is the family owns it and runs it, and he's at the top of the food chain. Yes, and clearly had every right to say no to whatever he wanted to. But also there's the board there, and Lisa's on that, and Ben is on that, and it's a lot of the family members along with the Steve O'Donnells, the Steve Phelps. But he could step down from the CEO spot and remain on that board and still have a say in how things are going and still have his voice heard, not to the level it's been heard recently, which is he's the fucking bottom line no matter what. But that's probably not going to be the case going forward anyways.
Yeah.
So
TK saying Ben Kennedy via Chicago alone drew SVG and by extension New Zealand, Australian fans to
that's
NASCAR.
Half our listeners.
Yeah, that is half our listeners, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, look, there was some positive stuff there going on, but yeah, look, we won't fully know how this all affects everything until the dust finally settles, and we got about a month and a half to kind of figure it all out before Daytona. Speaking of Daytona, FS1 was showing the 2007 Daytona 500. Cody, I was watching that one, and
is that the Kevin Harvick, Mark Martin finish?
Mm-hmm. The 01, baby, that beautiful Army car.
Yes, and just, inches apart from each other on that finish. That is a great. They're all great. They're all Daytona 500s are great. But yeah, it's a holiday season, right? So the lawsuit, the dust is still settling from the lawsuit. We're going into the holidays here. January, I would expect, hey, we're going to roll out. Here's the new championship format for the new season, which is now just a little over a month away at Bowman Gray. Jim France loves NASCAR. He's had a great time. He's going to step down. Ben Kennedy's going to take his spot. The teams have all agreed to that because we're partners with the teams now, right? And they've all voted and they agree, yes, Ben would be great for this role, blah, blah, blah. Hey, it's only, 40 days, or at that point, it's going to be 30 days, 1 month away until the clash of Bowman Gray. Looking forward to a new season, and we move on, we move forward. But I would expect a lot of things to be coming out after the first of the year. Let's get through the holidays here, and then they're going to start dropping. Obviously, the championship format needs to come out soon so we get some motherfucking odds for some shit, Rod. That'd be nice. But yeah, I think beginning of January is when we'll find out the repercussions of what changes are made because of this lawsuit and because of everything involved here, right? Who keeps their jobs, who loses their jobs, who steps down from their jobs, who's moved into different roles in their jobs or whatever. I think there will be some changes made at some level.
We're going to keep up with them as the offseason progresses and tell you all about it. But in the meantime, Cody, we've still got some episodes to fill for the week. So we will talk this week about IndyCar odds for the upcoming season, as well as the F1 futures for the upcoming season as well. Both of them, look, I know that we had a runaway winner with IndyCar, but the F1 season is spicing up, lots of changes, lots of opportunities to talk about drivers we haven't talked about in a half a minute, and brand new manufacturers entering the mix when it comes to Formula One.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about both of them. Alex Palou's obviously won the last few IndyCar championships. He's run away with them. He's minus 200 as the favorite going into this season. So we're not going to be betting on him, but is there opportunities? Is it a Joseph Newgarden rebound year? Somebody else? There's been some driver changes, some shifting. We'll go over all that. It's going to be really exciting. F1, as you mentioned, Cadillac is now on the grid. There's been some driver changes and shifting. There's also some new car stuff going on there. We'll cover all that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to both those episodes. We're kind of in a holding pattern when it comes to NASCAR odds. We've talked about the championship odds. We talked about the Daytona 500 odds and props. Now we're kind of waiting. At this point last year, we had win totals. We had head-to-head stuff. We had who's going to make the championship four. We had O'Reilly, Xfinity at the time, right? Championship odds. We had truck odds. We're waiting on all that. But as we get through these next few weeks here, those are going to start dropping. As soon as they do, we're going to get more into those. We'll have our one and done picks coming up. I mean, so much NASCAR stuff we can talk as well. Since we've got odds for these 2 open wheel series, we're going to go over them, cover them. They're always a lot of fun. And hey, last year, we had the Oscar Piastri 8-1, 10-1s in our pocket all season. Oh, I was almost cashing those tickets late in the year because it looked so good. Obviously, didn't pan out, but and Lando was less of a surprise, but still a different winner than we've had over there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about those series the next couple of days. And it's Christmas next week already, Rod. And then we're going to be into the new year, and it's almost racing time, baby.
I'm telling you, I feel like this offseason has gone by a lot quicker than the last couple, and I feel like it's because of the fact that we've had stuff to talk about that isn't car histories. But all right, Cody, we'll let everybody go, marinate on everything that's just happened, and come back for the rest of the week. We'll talk IndyCar, we'll talk F1. We'll just have some fun as we close out the rest of this week as we head into the holiday season. So, Cody, as we release everybody, let everybody know where they can find you. You actually made a great appearance on Steffi's show earlier today, and all that other good stuff.
Yes, you can follow me on the X at @Husker_Zeeb. You can find all my stuff over there. Did make an appearance on the Steffi Small show today, so go check that out. We talked Thursday night football, props and stuff there. We talked some fantasy football going into your championship weeks or semifinal weeks this week, championship week next week, some strategies and whatnot there. Had some great conversation about the Patriots and Giants, as we always do. So love Steffi. She's great. Awesome show over there. Make sure you check that out. Bowl season is in full swing. I've been writing up daily articles for any days that there's bowls, dropping in place for that. College football stuff continues to roll. I got some playoff stuff coming out, NFL stuff, always tons of that. It's always busy over there, Rod, at @Husker_Zeeb, where you can get it all. 91 bets in 91 days. You can find that over there on the YouTube channel as well. Make sure you subscribe to that. Click the little bell. We'll see you tomorrow.
You get tired just talking about it. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez. You can find all the stuff that I'm not nearly as much as Cody anymore. Cody has surpassed me in terms of content creation now. I am nearing the age where I could just sit back and sit on a rocking chair and scream.
He's in his Jim France era.
I'm in my Jim France era, ladies and gentlemen. But follow me on Twitter. I may post something interesting there as well. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow with some IndyCar talk. So until then, let's go racing and let it ride.